Hi everyone, I'm here with Paul de Oliveira, who's come over to talk to us today. The series is about talking reasons why people have stopped riding their bikes, and we're looking at what we can do to lessen that impact and try to keep people riding and improve things. So Paul, nice to have you here, mate. Shake or fist bump or whatever we have to do.
Yep.
Let's start off with, what sort of rider were you when you did ride your bike?
For over 20 years, 25 years commuting. Pretty much I'd hardly use my car. It was either riding my bike or using public transport around Melbourne. I live in the eastern suburbs. Even if I was visiting someone over in the western suburbs or northern suburbs, I'd ride my bike there. If not, take public transport. So hardly ever use my car. So total commuter.
Yeah. And you had a few bikes, I understand.
Yeah, I had at one point nine bikes.
Go on, tell us what sort of bikes you had.
Carbon fiber light racer. Had an old steel bike that I had for 30 years.
Keep it steel, keep it real.
Yeah.
But you stopped suddenly from riding.
Yes, yeah, certainly did.
So tell us what happened to make you stop suddenly. Was it one thing or was it a multitude of things? How did it come about?
One incident, that was the final straw. I thought, this is it, I'm done. I've had enough. I've been fortunate with all my riding, cycling, which I do on the road, because I like to, when I get somewhere, I want to get somewhere fast, do that on the road. I don't cycle on shared tracks. But I was commuting to work, and I just had too close a call on a stretch, a little bit of road that just made me nervous, always. And I used to stick to the gutter, almost rode in the gutter, as you'll see in the footage that I'll show you. And that car passed me over the speed limit, and I felt the pressure of the air past me, and I was furious. And that's when I just said, you know what, this is it. I'm done. I've got a child to look after, and that child's going to grow up with me. Not rely on a single parent. So that was it. Just said, I'm done.
One of the things we're looking at the moment is the fact the 1 metre rule is not doing anything in Victoria. It's not been promoted. TAC's completely ignored it. Do you think that even if the 1 metre rule was in place and it was properly promoted, do you think that your incident would have happened? Do you think it was that sort of driver, or do you think it was just ignorance?
I'd say ignorance. I think when people jump in a car, they're just looking around for other cars. My car, my road, my rules. People jump in a car and it's a different mindset. When I used to cycle, I'd turn up at a party. This is like 20 years ago. Rock into the house with my lycra, change of clothes. And people look at me like, wow, look at this dude. Put my bike helmet down, put a jumper on, jeans, and it's like, oh wow. Who's this dude? This is unusual.
Visualization on social media, or stigmatization on social media of the mammal. Do you feel that the mammal association is definitely out there right now?
I don't feel that as much, but I definitely agree that when I was cycling in the 90s, I just cycle on the roads. There were fewer cars, but I felt there was hardly anyone. I never see anyone commuting like I was commuting, with my backpack full of stuff. Helmet, always wore a helmet. And it's only, early 2000s that I actually could progressively see. In 2010, beyond that, that's when I definitely started to see other people maybe cycling to work like I was doing.
There's a 800% increase during peak COVID. There's 600% increase now on cars. We're being told to celebrate the 270% increase in the number of bikes, but are you seeing that many bikes on the road at the moment? You said yourself you used to ride on the road instead of the paths. But do you feel that the cyclists are actually on the roads, or do you think that they're more hiding onto the shared paths?
Do I see people commuting? I saw people commuting when I was at work, and I just used to think, well, that's what I used to do. But I'm indoors now, I guess, working from home. So I don't really see people riding.
If there was something that could get you more comfortable again back on the road, what would it be?
In a way, I've lost a bit of nerve and lost confidence. I've lost confidence in riding on the road and putting my trust and faith in other drivers, because I'm a driver. I don't trust other drivers when it comes to respect of other people on the road. And my belief is backed up with what I read and see on social media, and see in the media, commercial media as well. the road's there for everyone.
We've all seen the hatred on Facebook.
Definitely.
Yep. How do you think that affected cycling during peak hatred, the 2018, 2019?
Well, it just gave people reinforcement of the negative views. That because of social media having such. This is only 5 years ago. There was no community standards, so posts and memes of cyclists being run over and being mocked for dying on the roads, that was allowed. And you were an advocate for that being pulled down. I remember that. That is just not allowed.
Took a long time to get community standards changed, and even then,
too long.
I don't know if it was cycling that actually got that across. I think there was more suicides and other things that actually eventually got that across the line. I think that if it was still down to just cycling, I don't think those community standards would have adjusted yet. Unfortunately, I know that's probably a harsh thing to say in front of you.
But I agree, and this is where you asked me what changed my mindset. Well, sorry, changed me to get into cycling. It's me at the end of the day, because I've lost my faith in drivers and their ability to know the road rules and to show courtesy and respect, tolerance and patience.
There we go. I'll just give you that there. You can show us a photo of your son. So this is, he's 7 years old.
He is now. This is, I think he's 2 or 3, and I was actively cycling and running marathons back then. And I was cycling like 20 k's a day easily, and that was just commuting. So that was me with him.
So that's now, Paul, I actually want to talk to you about this photo. You showed me this photo earlier, and I turned around and said to you, I'm going to bring up this photo during this chat today.
Yeah.
You were a lot thinner in those days, mate. So definitely cycling was doing a lot good for you.
Mentally and physically.
Mentally and physically. Okay. So what was your mental aptitude in those days, as far as just, how did you feel when you were riding? Brilliant. All the time?
Like, you get those frustrations and you have a bit of anger. You jump on that bike, get the aggression out through the pedals. But then you have to focus on the road and the surroundings. And so, after 5 minutes, 15 minutes, I was much more relaxed person, because I got rid of that negative energy mentally and physically, because I'd got it through the bike and out on the road.
And that obviously helped you a lot when it came to work as well.
Definitely. Didn't need a coffee, and I was as happy as Larry.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm happiest when I ride to work, and even at times I can't ride to work because I have to lug my equipment around, all that sort of stuff, and I'm not brave enough to put panniers on. Not for brave as in on the road, but brave as in able to push as much weight as I need to. But yeah, it does. It makes you feel better. You get to the end, you don't have to have a coffee. You can have a quick shower and you feel like $1 million.
Yeah.
But this young fella here, that's how old? That's when you gave up?
Yeah, I think a year after that, I'd had enough. It's just that's it. I want to look after my son.
Yeah. And I mean, that's an important thing. You want to make sure, people forget on the road that everyone is someone's. We're all someone's dad, someone's mum, someone's sister, brother. We belong to a family and we belong to the community. We offer a lot to the community all the time. And it seems to be forgotten sometimes with the aggression on the road. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. As I mentioned, people jump into the car and it's a different mindset. I own the road. This is my car, my space. I just never had that on a bike.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think the government could do to improve conditions for riders on the road to make sure that someone doesn't feel that they need to give up something they love?
Oh, well, definitely on a state level, even at federal government level, promoting cycling, promoting, just education, making people aware of laws. What is it, 1.5 meter rule?
Yeah, well, 1 meter 60 and under, and 1.5 over 60. But you wouldn't know that in Victoria anyway, because I've not seen it anywhere.
Yeah, and just the same federal and state level,
Yeah.
that sort of education. It's simplest things. But for me, it's the bigger picture than that. It's, you know, governments, corporations, individuals talk about the environment, and it's just like, oh well, that's great. But
We know economically to drive costs the community 17 cents a kilometre, and to ride makes the community 7 cents a kilometre or 17 cents a kilometre. I can't quite remember the figure off the top of my head for a strange reason.
Yep.
We know that that's a fact, and yet we don't hear that anywhere.
Not at all. And that positivity, even in an economic sense, should be promoted, and that should be spoken about. I'm sure the transport ministers, federally in any state, are promoting, alternative transport. If you want to get somewhere, you don't necessarily have to get in a car. You can walk, public transport, cycling. And you speak to people, and people are so car eccentric. And this country, our state, our city has so much to offer than just driving around. You can catch a tram, bus. We've got a great transport. Besides, we've got great cycling tracks around here.
Absolutely. What about companies, corporations? What do you think they could do to get people more comfortable in riding? One of the things I've spoken to many companies about is promoting cycling inside the company, which actually doesn't just affect the cyclist. Everyone goes, oh yeah, that's great for the cyclist, but what about me? Well, you're in your car, but you're now thinking about cyclists. Do you think that helps as well?
Yeah, definitely. Like businesses, large and small, could promote things like around the bay as a corporate event.
Shop local.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. You cycle, you're going for that local business. You're not going to be driving to, say, a Chadstone, a Mega Mall, or Westfields. You're gonna cycle down to your local shop, park the bike, have a coffee, and cycle back.
Now, one of the things that I've always said, by the way, people, is that people go, you can't buy a fridge on your bike. Well, guess what? You can't buy a fridge from your car either, because you'll get it delivered. What about traditional media? We're talking TV, radio. Do you think they can be helping at this? And what do you think?
100%. It's those particular current affairs that are always wanting good versus bads. Us versus them, and that's what I saw in the media. And I just thought, you know what, you're just building up a bit of hate and resentment. You're not building rapport. It's something, and that was also what was a concern to me. Just what was being said in the media with some of those people. I love Darren Hinch and what he does, but that comment for me, I just thought, like, are you serious?
Yeah, Magda Savansky is a comedian. I loved her until she turned around and said, "Open the door on them."
Yeah. So anyone ever opened the door on you?
Yes.
It's painful,
I've
isn't
been
it?
doored twice. I ended up inside the car on one of them that doored me because I jumped the wheel at the moment that the door opened in front of me and done a wheelie into their car.
But remember, there was that young man that was killed when it was opened up and the truck ran over him?
Yeah, Alberto Poland. Yeah.
And this is sort of fires me up and gets me angry when you hear these sorts of comments, and people die on our roads. Was it 400 people in our state die on our roads on average? Then there's 14,000 or 1,400 people that end up in hospital?
The numbers are a lot larger than that.
And when you look at the TPD payouts, total permanent disabled, the bulk of those are from road trauma.
Yeah.
And so we've mentioned about the cost savings to, it's 17 cents per kilometre, but no one's really pointed and saying, hey, look, you want to save the society money, make our roads safer.
Keep going. That's it.
And sort of like we wouldn't have so many road deaths, road trauma. All these people, like you've touched on today, the indirect cost of families being affected, loved ones being affected by road trauma, and it's just that conversation. I don't think is intermittent. It's not. This is where I think the state and federal governments and even councils need to say, look, people are dying on our roads. More, people are in hospitals, and it's those silent people in a hospital that isn't also noted in the media. And that's once people start to realise, you're not invincible, and you get in that car. The airbags and those crumple zones will only do so much.
Yeah. Tell me, what would happen if you were to have been hit by that car that day? What do you think would have happened in the scheme of things?
Well, with the speed of when you'll see that car, I felt died if I had have hit any closer. If it had been clipped, it would have been severely injured. Because a 60k an hour hit from a car that weighs 800 kilos to a time, I mean, it's just going to be a bump. But my son would be raised by his mum. Now, make it personal. In most of my teen years, it was just me and mum, and it was tough on my mum. A single parent and all that. It was tough, but mum made it happen, and I don't want that to happen to my son.
So your ultimate solution in the end was to give up something you loved.
Mm-hmm.
Let's rattle this off a wee bit, Paul. Something you loved.
Yep.
Something that kept you healthy.
100%.
Kept you a lot thinner than you are now. Let's be honest here. Something that made you feel excellent at work. Something that helped you focus at work.
Yeah, 100%.
You gave up something that obviously your family, your wife would have supported you when you're cycling as well, and your marathon riding.
Even she mentions the COVID weights. It's like, if you were cycling, you wouldn't have that. So, yeah, I know.
Yeah. You've given all this up because you've deemed it's now too unsafe.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, I'm not going to disagree with you. I'm going to say that there's the fast and fearless and there's upright and relaxed. And you are not the upright and relaxed style of rider, I'm assuming here.
No.
You are more the fast and fearless.
Because that's why I always cycle on the roads.
Yeah, correct. And we have to remind people that for me to get from here to the city by bike path, I have to go 2 kilometres by road that way.
Yep.
And then it's a 22 kilometre bike ride to the city via the bike path.
Yep.
Or I can go 9 kilometres that way on the road.
Yeah, exactly.
And people don't understand that. They don't understand that we're given to meander.
Yes.
To our destination, or we have to ride on the road.
Yep.
Now, when you're commuting, and this is the biggest reason why I wanted to talk to you today, when you're commuting, you're not into a meander. You want to get from A to B just like you would in your car. Am I right or wrong?
Yes.
There? And so you've given all this up because you've deemed it to be too unsafe.
Yeah, it's not worth the risk. And if something were to happen, even just be injured, it just sort of like, it just put my family out too much.
Bring it really home now. How does it make you feel?
I miss it. Seeing cyclists around and thinking, I do miss it. But at this point in time, maybe I'll go back, but no, I'm not going back.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, thank you for your work too.
Great. Thanks very much, Paul. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Thanks.